director, Mr. Chaminda Hettiarachchi, to set the agenda for the forum by sharing his ideas on Go Home campaign. Chaminda Hettiarachchi is a co-founder and a director at FabLanka Foundation. It's a social enterprise working on Industry 4 technologies, including 3D printing for socio-economic development in Sri Lanka. Chaminda is also the CEO of, and Managing Director at DIL Consultancy, a research and management consultancy company based in Colombo, Sri Lanka. He teaches project management, strategy and e-business as a visiting lecturer for postgraduate programs at University of Colombo and University of Moratuwa in Sri Lanka. Chaminda has been active in key political and social movements in Sri Lanka over the last 25 years, both nationally and internationally. He has also hosted many similar events online and in-site. Chaminda has 20 years experience in the industry, academia, research and consultancy in 20 countries in Asia, Africa and Europe, and he has lived in Pakistan, Germany, Sweden, Spain and Switzerland before returning to Sri Lanka. Chaminda is a BSc Engineering graduate from the University of Peradeniya, Sri Lanka. He has an MBA from Lahore University of Management Sciences, or LAMS, in Lahore, Pakistan, and an MBA from the Graduate School of Singen University of Applied Sciences in Germany. Chaminda has completed a master's degree in Peace and Development Studies from University of Guillaume in Valencia, Spain in 2003, and he also followed the Summer Institute of Nonviolent Resistance organized by International Center on Nonviolence, Washington DC, at Fletcher School, Tufts University in Boston, USA in April 2016. He is also an alumnus of Harvard Kennedy School in Boston, USA in executive education and a DAD scholar at Humboldt University of Berlin, Germany, and University of Koblenz-Landau in Germany. So it is my privilege to have Chaminda to talk about the Go Home campaign. So please, Chaminda, take over.
Okay, thank you very much, Greshan. I am moderator as well as the host, so I had to also manage some logistics. So let me directly go to my presentation. First, I have to admit that actually, can you see the full screen?
No, we are seeing you.
Okay. Okay, now setting the agenda. Can you see that? Greshan?
No, I'm not seeing the screen. Like I'm seeing you on the screen.
Okay, let me try again. How is now?
Yes.
View full screen. No? Display mode, view full screen mode. Is it full screen now?
No. So we see you and then the shared screen, not full screen.
Let me try one more time.
No.
Can you see the PowerPoint now?
Yes. Okay. I think you can speak like that too.
Full screen?
It's not full screen. The screen is divided into. Oh, so
it's full screen.
Okay.
This is full screen.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, so sorry for the technical issue. Now, in fact, today we have a lot of serious speakers, who are experts on conflicts and non-violence. But I want to set the agenda because I am mainly the local guy here in Sri Lanka. Therefore, but also I want to admit that now this content were mainly made when the struggle or Aragale was going on, but we didn't expect this kind of a victory phase. So we have to adjust that to a victory phase. But I anyway wanted to go ahead with my presentation. So basically, I talk about my perspective of Gota Go Home as an individual, and what we have been doing as FabLanka, and based on my understanding, how I kind of characterize or model people's movement in Sri Lanka. These are all open for discussion later, not immediately after. We'll have a separate session for discussion, and also strategic logic for nonviolence for Gota Go Home. Now, as Greshan already mentioned, I have been activist, political activist for different movements, but mainly on the idea of peace, democracy, justice, and minorities from even actually from late 80s, but from 90s definitely. And so I don't claim as an initiator or leader or even founder of the protester of this movement, but I'm more like a mentor, trainer, and supporter to the movement. Basically, our intervention or our motivation is to actually help the movement to grow and to remain non-violent by building capacities. We are also trying to introduce digital technologies for continuity and sustainability of the movement. As Greshan mentioned in my profile, even though I've been a peace non-violent activist, I got a formal training in 2016 when I joined this International Center for Non-Violent Conflict summer school at Fletcher School. I want to mention two people here. You can see this here, the Professor Erika. I will talk about her later in the program, her research. Some of you already may know her, and we have also personal friends of Professor Erika. And then we have Catherine. She was at that time Associate Director at International Center for Conflict Management, Conflict Center. And then she was my host, and she's also one speaker today. Now, this is like non-violent, my network around the world. I'm still in touch with them. Maybe some of them are joining also today. So this was my formal training where I got the lifelong, life-changing experience of non-violence as a strategic choice, not as a, let's say, just as a moral choice. And Catherine was my guest of doing some training on non-violence. We visited Sarvodaya and National Peace Council, so she has done some training on non-violence in Sri Lanka. Now, in terms of my political perspective, now I have been early opposer to Gotabaya Rajapaksa even before he was elected. So I have actually documented this in my Facebook page. Some of you have already, maybe they're already my friends. Now, for example, for me, it was not about Gota's performance. As I mentioned here in November 16, I voted against his criminality, ineligibility, and incapability. So there are so many such posts. Now, this is a warning I gave to Sri Lankan people, using this famous poem by German pastor Martin Neumberl or somebody about they will come after you. So I can customize that to Sri Lanka, which was very popular those days. This was also 2019. But then the Gota Go Home movement was like, it started beyond our knowledge or control. But from the first day when the people surrounded Mirihan President's house in March 21st, I was there. And from that onward, we have been, by being participants and active, engagers of the, Gota Go Home and the protest. But still, I won't say that I'm a frontliner in terms of protesting. However, as organization, we have, as Greshan already mentioned, we did some sessions, particularly our Industry 4, how to use Industry 4 mainly to build a solidarity economy was at Gotagoma was really welcomed nicely, and then we were now keeping some different, we are talking about different interventions from that day onward, and also we try to help and work with different, more active partners there, particularly People's University, People's Library at Gotagoma, and Help Desk. Plus, there are a few other organizations like School, Gotagoma School. Maybe some of they are already here in our session, and with Solidarity Lawyers. So we are trying to work also along with these partners who are actively and engaged permanently. Now, I wanted to also mention that yesterday I was a participant when we, entered the presidential facilities. Secretary, I was at the secretariat place, and so this was, the celebration time, at least in securing the, the main targets. So I model or characterize Gota movement, not just the Gota Gold Phase 1, but overall national movement as a dominantly non-violent. I would say technically it's a non-violent movement with maybe some violent flanks, led by youth. Younger people are the front runners. And it's non-partisan because there are a lot of political parties involved, but it is actually, managed as a non-partisan movement. It's very innovative. They are technological savvy and creative as well as inclusive, because Sri Lanka has been a divided society, but you could see in the movement, it was allowed to have Tamils, Muslims, men, women, LGBT community, all were, part of the movement. And also it's interesting that we consider it as a movement with distributed leadership. Sri Lanka is not familiar with this idea, so they are always asking who is the leader, who is running that. But I have to keep on telling this, the how do you call them, suspectful people, that it's a distributed leadership. It's a new kind of idea of running an organization or even a movement. And also we saw there people who are running that are not like known political people or celebrities, or not even intellectual. So but it was very interesting to say their way of handling and way of coming to decisions and positions. So I noted that they have this, what we do today, wisdom of crowd approach, where people come together and take decisions and make announcements, for example. During last 90 days, we saw how it evolved, adapting to different situations, sometimes to violence, and also dynamic. The movement is very dynamic. It's going on, but uh, I would say it's a very dynamic movement. We are very much amazed to see the national and even international participation and support the movement good. So today now I can say I just added this last night. This is successful now. It has achieved almost the expected express target or outcome. So it's, I would categorize as successful, but there are more activities to be done. It will go further, but at the moment we can say it's a successful people's movement. This is just to show you, how it's interesting, because one side you have Chinese harbor or port city, and then people are in the movement at Goldface. It's a very interesting also location to see peoples and the Chinese and all other stakeholders in Sri Lankan society, political stakeholders. This shows this technological savviness of the young people, how they did a laser project kind of campaign to this is the Presidential Secretariat. This is a very actually well-known picture. It demonstrates their interest or ability to do campaigns in non-traditional way. Also, if you visit this Digital site, you see there are very interesting ideas they are trying to promote through this campaign. This was kind of a action plan they declared few days ago, but I don't know how effective now with that is, because we have kind of won the battle. But I think it's a kind of basis for negotiation for the the movement as well as the political parties and other political forces. Okay, so let me also come to last point, that is strategic logic of nonviolence. Now, when I prepared the presentation, I want to sit the ground because our speakers are not more high level experts on this subject, but I wanted to give an idea to the mainly to the speakers, what kind of theories, what kind of frameworks we are trying to push in Sri Lanka, and also for the people who are joining from outside, Now, in Sri Lanka, dominantly there are two, even inside the movement, there's a kind of argument that violence is okay when you react. So it's like, violence as deterrence. That is a dominant thinking. Gahana is okay. But our idea is violence is strategically more powerful than, non-violence is more powerful than, effective than violence. That's one thing. Second thing is, now we as Sri Lanka, as a society, just came out of war, so we believe in violence as more effective way of, solving problems, conflicts, different conflicts. So in that kind of context, we have been pushing the idea mainly from, Professor Erica and Maria, both of were resource person in 2016 ICNC summer school, as well as mutual friends of our speakers, some of our speakers. We also have Bruce from ICNC, and he will talk about this in more technical details. So we push this idea inside the movement also. Now, basically, the idea for the newcomers or people who are not familiar with this concept, now Erica and Maria, they did together empirical research based on all the violent and non-violent movements in the world from 1900 to 2006. I think more than 320, some 30. And then what they found was, because earlier there was no such kind of data. So what, through this research, what they found was non-violent resistance were more effective, two times effective than violent campaigns, as well as this from around the world, right? From Philippines to Eastern Europe, everywhere. Let's say after winning the campaign, whether violent or non-violent, what will happen to the society? This is very important now for us. Now they have found that people who won through non-violent campaigns are more successful in, let's say, rebuilding the nation or maintaining the democracy than going back to civil war. So that was very important finding based on this data. And the last one is, of course, this 3.5 rule. That means now if you can engage 3.5 of your population to a particular movement, then success is guaranteed. So again, I want to highlight this is data from more than 100 years from around the world by considering both non-violent and non-violent movements, more than 330. This shows success of non-violent campaign compared to violent campaigns of this data. Now this is also across the time. That's very interesting. Now you can see after 1980s, the success of violent, non-violent campaigns have increased, and later it has declined. This is a different actually graph going up to 2019. I think Bruce will explain why this went down, but you can see still the idea of two times effective nature of non-violent campaigns are obvious in this graph also. This is the 3.5 rule. If you can engage, now I actually calculated that for Sri Lanka, approximately like 1 million or 3.7 lakhs, we have achieved this. So when I talk to people in the movement, I always emphasize that we have reached that, and so there should be winning is the only outcome we could expect. So this happened yesterday, and now Erica get additional data for her research. So this is my final slide. I just wanted to show that even though I'm the moderator, I'm in like a celebration mood, victory mood. I took this picture yesterday. Now you can see all these military guys, where they are kind of protecting the Presidential Secretariat, but we were taking pictures and doing all these funny things. So this shows the nation's mood now. A lot of people are afraid of going outside before and facing the military, but now we know that we are more powerful than them. So that's the mood we are in now. Okay. Thank you very much. So that's the end of my formal presentation. Greshan, over to you. Greshan muted.
Thank you very much, Chaminda.